Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is the 11th of April 2023. And these are the stories that we will be discussing during the course of the show. We will begin with the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, its various activities from across the border from Afghanistan into Pakistan, and the responsibility of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Afghanistan to rein in the TTP. Now, Rana Sanaullah Saab, who is our Interior Minister, has said recently that there are going to be no future talks with TTP. The only talks that will be held will be with the Tehreek-e-Taliban Afghanistan. How important is the role of the TTA in order to bring in organizations such as the TTP, the ISIK? As you very well remember, Daesh was behind the attack on the Pakistan embassy in Kabul as well. This is going to be our first story. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the rising Islamophobia in the West and in the United States of America. Now, an imam was stabbed in the back while he was leading the Fajr prayers in a mosque in Paterson, which is a city in New Jersey which has the highest number of Muslims. The police said this is not a hate crime, but just a day before there was another hate crime that did happen in which the name of certain religious eminary was defaced. Now, the fact remains that incidents of Islamophobia are not random. They are increasing with every passing day, and there are other incidents that aggravate the situation of the Muslims and the religion that is Islam. We know all about the Danish who burnt our Holy Quran some time back, and of course this is something that has been happening for quite some time. What should be the attitude of the world towards Islam and to eradicate Islamophobia? This is going to be our second story. And finally, we will be talking about ChatGPT. We've talked about it in the past as well. This is a software that uses artificial intelligence to create responses, to make queries. Now, what has happened is that in Pakistan, a judge in Falia city in Punjab province has used the ChatGPT in order to ascertain whether bail should be given to one of the accused in an incident concerning premeditated rape. Now, this is an interesting development as far as the use of ChatGPT in Pakistan's judiciary is concerned. Whether this will continue in other forms, only time will tell. This is going to be our last story. Let's begin with our first story, and that concerns Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, Tehreek-e-Taliban Afghanistan, their nefarious activities of the TTP in Pakistan, and the importance and the role that needs to be played by the TTA to rein in TTP. More in the following report.
Militancy, but entire nation is committed to combat terrorism because peace was gained through the sacrifices of thousands of Pakistani citizens and gallant security forces. There are mounting concerns that Islamic State groups branch in Afghanistan and Pakistan is capable of conducting transnational terror operations. United Nations Security Council in February estimated that ISIS-K had 1,000 and 3,000 fighters and retained ambitions to conduct external operations. IS Khorasan ranks are further swelling as a result of desertions on the ranks of proscribed group Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Meanwhile, Pakistan has seen a rise in terrorist attacks across the country believed to have been planned and directed by TTP leaders based in Afghanistan. The annual Global Terrorism Index released by Australia-based Institute for Economics and Peace said that Pakistan recorded the second largest increase in terrorism-related deaths worldwide in 2022. A National Security Committee meeting agreed to launch an all-out comprehensive operation to rid the country of the menace of terrorism. Pakistan has been calling on the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan to take action against TTP militants and other terror groups operating from Afghan soil. The Afghan Taliban have to ramp up counter-terrorism operations across Afghanistan, and its intelligence agencies have to track TTP and ISIS-K's activities. As per understanding reached in Doha Agreement, Afghanistan's policy should be that there shall be no threats or harms from Afghanistan soil against any country, and no one will be allowed to threaten other countries from Afghanistan soil.
Brigadier retired Nadir, who's a defense analyst, joins us online. Brigadier Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Brigadier Saab, I'd like to begin with a certain report, the annual Global Terrorism Index that was released by the Australian-based Institute for Economics and Peace has said that Pakistan has had the largest number of increase in terrorist-related deaths worldwide in 2022. And of course, Pakistan follows Burkina Faso. Do you feel that this trend of terrorist-related activities is going to continue in 2023?
Pakistan has had this surge in terrorism, as you've just mentioned in the report. But the question is that Pakistan has very good relations with the Kabul regime and the Tehran regime. So all should be quiet on the Western front, the side from where it is emanating, because they have the base of operations across the Western border. Maybe some of them are hiding in Pakistan, a few of them. So the question is, who is doing this? Because, as you know, logistics and finance are the main things for such a terrorist campaign, this is geopolitical terrorism, and India is the state actor supporting terrorists across the Western border, being unable to attack across Pakistan's eastern border. And the reason is that while Pakistan wants peace, India wants hegemony. With its oversight geopolitical agenda, Delhi wants to truncate Pakistan and project itself as a great power to be peer rival of China. It has launched also, as you might know, being in the media, a 24/7 social media campaign to demonize Pakistan on all counts. Something happens or doesn't even happen, and you see what the Indian media is saying about Pakistan. And the geopolitics in this part of the world is in full swing. That is in our region. As you see, US General says Asim Muni's statement at LOC to support Kashmir has rattled India, because he's only talking about the UN resolutions. But the Indians want Pakistan to forget about Kashmir, while they themselves, have a feeling that the Khalistan movement, which is now worldwide, is becoming India's nemesis. And recently, the Indians have even had bad relations with, or relations affected with Canada, even UK, because of the Khalistan movement, which enjoys genuine support. Khalistan belongs to the Khalsas or the Sikhs. Besides this, India is also having this latest clash with China in Little Tibet, an area hegemonized by India and called Arunachal Pradesh. So if you see the regional chessboard, a frustrated India is trying to rise, but is hemmed in geopolitically by Pakistan and China, who both want peace. China is rising peacefully.
I'd like to understand. You say that India is a player that is trying to create havoc in Pakistan indirectly through Afghanistan. But is the Afghan government of the TTA that naive that it lets India do whatever it wants, or are there remunerations that interest the TTA and the Afghan government?
When the Soviets invaded Afghanistan, a book was written by the British General, and one of the interesting statements was, mentioning, the great game was played and the British were very, very familiar with Afghanistan. So one of the questions that was asked was, who rules Afghanistan? So the Afghanistan. So the answer was half Afghanistan, meaning that the king at that time ruled half of Afghanistan, and the other part was ruled by warlords and independent non-state actors of that era, in the British great game of Kipling's Kim's fame, and later on also. And so, while the Kabul regime, as you're saying, we are supporting the Kabul regime internationally, it is not fully in power, or it's trying to, some elements, it's not one entity, as you see, and some of the elements may be having ties or maybe trying to get influence. And the thing that is used in all the terrorist campaigns all over the world is called money. No terrorist campaign can run. Recently, as you know, being in the media, you are very familiar, it has been said that the leftover American weapons in Afghanistan are being used. But weapons alone are not enough, because you need money to finance a movement, any movement, a terrorist movement of this magnitude, which is fighting a Pakistan army, rather the Pakistan nation. So the answer to your question is, yes, the Afghan government has to be pressurized. I said it previously also, and for that, all elements of national power that Pakistan has, which is not only military, we must always have the option of going and striking across on terrorists who are attacking Pakistan. I've said it before many times, I repeat it. But besides that, economically, Afghanistan is landlocked, dependent on Pakistan, and foreign aid and the Gulf states and Western states and other state actors friendly with Pakistan. So Pakistan can have a joint workout on this, that terrorism in Afghanistan is not affordable to the world as a whole, even Russia and China.
You talk of joint workout with Afghanistan on terrorism. We all know, and we've discussed with you in the past as well, about the Pakistani delegation that went some time back to Afghanistan with facts and figures, with a dossier, with that explained in all detail as to how the TTP was infiltrating from Afghanistan into Pakistan. And of course, Afghanistan was told that it needs to stop this, and it needs to stop the TTP. Has the TTA learned, or do you feel this is just a little lull and then the whole thing is going to restart again after Ramzan?
Well, the short answer is, if the Afghan or the Kabul regime doesn't stop them or cannot stop them, then we have to stop them. Pakistan is being attacked in the case. I'm just asking a question. If Iran was being attacked by these people, or Turkey was being attacked, or any other country, what do you think that country would do? Israel was being attacked. You know what they do. So why don't we do this? There's a problem in Pakistan. I'm saying it openly. I've said it repeatedly. It is not that we have to be trigger happy. It is not that Pakistanis need to go and fight other nations. But the point is that Pakistan has to be defended. As chairman of Pakistan National Reform Movement, I've said it. Pakistan is above all. So anybody attacks, the name doesn't matter. I keep repeating because it's not only this organization that you're talking. There are other elements in Baluchistan, and there are still more, left over of Al-Qaeda or whatever the previous elements were there. So it can be a new kind of arrangement or a force, a non-state actor which is doing this. The basic issue is...
Nadir, I'd like to also understand, is attacking the police forces in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa specifically a target of such organizations to destabilize our forces, because we see deliberate attacks on the police in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. We've seen in the past a few weeks about all these attacks that have happened. Is this a deliberate strategy?
Obviously, it's a deliberate strategy. They're going after within the uniform, they're going after the softer, which is the police. If they go after the armed forces, Pakistan can retaliate in a bigger. So they're actually, this is what is called the boiling frog strategy, slowly raise the heat or tempo. I mean, it's been used all over by the world, in such insurgencies or terrorist movements. So the short answer is that Pakistan should not allow anyone to come and attack, and if it is attacked, their base of operations and other places, and there are many ways to do it. It is not only, we don't have to emulate another country, but there are many ways. Pakistan has many resources, and other nations have an interest on this also. So why are you allowing this to happen? And what are you doing about it? Every time it happens, you keep saying the same thing, that we are very sorry. I mean, the officials, it's the government's responsibility, and I'm not criticizing the present government. It has been happening the last 10, 20, so many years. So every government has faced this. So it's not just the government, it's the whole nation. But the government being in chair has to ensure that no part of, whether it is the police or the civilians or their armed forces personnel or anybody else, they will have to be secured. It is the duty of the Pakistani nation to secure each part of Pakistan and to retaliate in force. If you don't retaliate, you're not going to achieve this. Fighting a defensive battle has never worked in history throughout. I'm a teacher of military history also and a mentor at that. I can claim that much. Besides,
all right, Brigadier Nadir, I also like to understand, in the beginning of our conversation, you talked about the advanced weaponry that the Americans left when they left Afghanistan. Shouldn't they have taken proper care of it and not leave this in the hands of organizations such as the TTP? Can something be done now?
First of all, your question is very valid. You see, when the American exit took place, and it did not happen overnight. The Americans, as I said, there's a lot of logistics involved. The scenes that people saw of people flying in the aircraft, even falling down from Kabul airport, that was the last part. Actually, the American equipment, the heavy equipment went through Pakistan a long time before. First of all, the government of the time or whoever responsible, they should have, in Pakistan I'm saying, they should have done a proper job. There should have been proper collaboration for Pakistan, between Pakistan, United States and the NATO forces who were exiting, not only to ensure that, all this residue equipment and military hardware is not left behind, or if it is there, it is secured. I mean, or something is done about it. So that should have been done then. Number two, what can be done now? Well, let me tell you, yes, there is weapons in Afghanistan, but besides the weapons today, the weapons have always been there since the Soviet invasion. Weapons have been there since British times. Even old weapons have been used, vintage. So issue is not weapons. Issue is that who is supporting them? You have to go and strike. And there are many ways. Support Khalistan. I'm saying it openly on your channel. Why don't you support Khalistan? That will just rattle the people who are supporting terrorism in Pakistan.
All right, Brigadier Sahab, I'd also like your point of view on the ISIS Khorasan. Now, very recently, General Michael Kurilla, who's the head of US Central Command, has told the Senate Armed Forces Committee that the ISIS-K has increased its nefarious activities within Afghanistan. They have also offered Pakistan collaboration on counter-terrorism. Do you feel this is the time for the US and Pakistan to join hands against the ISIS-K, against the TTP? Because I will come next afterwards on this alliance, strange alliance between the ISIS-K and the TTP as well. But what's your take on the joint collaboration on counterterrorism between the US and Pakistan, between Pakistan and China?
As a geopolitician, as chairman PNRM, I have always said that everything which is in Pakistan's national security interest has to be done. So your question, yes, Pakistan should collaborate with the United States and not only United States, other countries also. And it is not one organization, as you mentioned them. There may be other names also. So across or into Afghanistan or against the terrorists who are attacking Pakistan, Pakistan needs to collaborate with United States and with many other countries. This is first. Secondly, Pakistan also needs to collaborate with China against India, who is trying to hegemonize both parts of Pakistan and parts of China also. We have a joint problem there also. So this is a time of flexible alliances. This is geopolitics which our politicians or our leaders don't understand. Pakistan needs different alliances with different countries for different ends, where as long as the interests of Pakistan are guarded.
All right, Brigadier Sahib, you talk of, I like the term flexible alliances. Do you feel the alliance between the TTP and the ISIK is a flexible one as well?
Of course, they are basically all competing for the same, terrorist space or militant space. You see, they were first fighting the TTP. They were in Afghanistan, but the others that you were mentioning, and many others also, they were also in the Middle East, and some of them in North Africa, also in other parts of the world. They've been driven out, or they've been truncated in the presence in the Middle East, or in the Gulf, or in Iraq or in Syria and some other places, because the bigger actors are fighting there. As you know, recently the Israelis and the Iranian supported forces, and even US and Russians, they're there. So the bigger game, the bigger parties, a bigger boy, it has become a big boys club out there. So these people are now in Afghanistan, where there's vacuum, where there's no state power, strong state power. The Kabul regime is itself impoverished. They themselves are not very financially viable, as you know, besides Pakistan, which is facing other issues. So there is a need for Pakistan to have different alliances with different countries for different ends. This overriding clause has to be Pakistan's national security at all cost.
All right, Brigadier Sahab, in February in the Munich conference, our Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab had said that if the world does not take necessary measures, terrorism could not only trickle from Afghanistan to Pakistan, but other regional countries as well. Does the world understand the consequences of not curtailing the activities of organizations such as the TTP and the ISIK? And do you feel they need to also help stabilize Afghanistan or the Afghan government so that they can also internally deal with such elements?
Bilawal Bhutto has been apt on the subject, as you just mentioned. The question why the world is not responding as actively or as strongly as they should. Well, firstly, as you can note, everybody knows, the focus of the Western world right now is Ukraine, with a big war between Russia and NATO and US and all that. Secondly, there's talk of of Israel-Iran war, and also in the Taiwan war or the Taiwan conflict between China and US and all that. So their main focus is away from Afghanistan. It is our job, because we are the affected party. Well, the first country being attacked from Afghanistan through the terrorists is called Pakistan. My question is, why is Iran not being attacked? Or why is other countries not being attacked? Because they respond totally differently than Pakistan. In Pakistan, these things are happening because we are not dealing with them effectively. By posting people or being on the defensive, you can't do that. You have to first deal with the terrorists, but also deal with the sponsors who may be in other countries like Delhi, or sitting in other capitals like called Delhi.
Brigadier Sahab, also I'd like to point you towards Pakistan's counter-terrorism strategy. We have a national action plan, we have NACTA, we have this counter-terrorism strategy. Is it implemented in a true letter and spirit? Do you feel this counter-terrorism strategy needs to be updated in the light of the recent incidents that have rocked Pakistan, such as the mosque in Peshawar, such as the incident in Karachi?
It is obvious that all the counter-terrorism strategy, or all these things that you're talking about, all of them have to be upgraded or revisited or improved, because that is not enough. If they were enough, then you wouldn't be attacked. As they say, the proof of the pudding lies in eating it. You are being attacked and you're suffering so many casualties, so it's not effective. It's as simple as that. But the point I'm trying to highlight again and again is that what you are talking about, what most Pakistanis or what most people talk, this is the tactics. This is the battlefield or the site where these things are happening. What you're going to do, the actions on that site, that is called tactics, okay? In the battlefield for soldiers, it's tactics. The thing is geopolitics. It is the driving force behind, the locomotive behind, the engine which is doing it. Who is sponsoring? Nobody asked in this parliament. They discuss everything in Pakistan media. You just see what the 24/7 in Pakistan. Nobody talks about this. Who is running? Who is the state actor who's doing this? terrorism in Pakistan. And what are we doing about it? United States is not there. It's in dealing with Ukraine and is focused on maybe Iran, but more on Taiwan, and as everybody knows. And similarly, Russia, even with Russia, Pakistan has good relations. And with China, we have excellent relations. And even with Iran and Kabul regime, as I said, and Tehran regime, we have good relations, basically. So it's not that Pakistan and Afghanistan or Pakistan are Iran at a war. We are not. And we will not be. We have good relations. So why is this happening? And who is doing it? That is the first question to be answered. So what I'm trying to talk is the policy level where the problem is. Our policy has to be totally different from what we are. We are on a defensive, even appeasement of India has been a policy. So we have to, I know we are having these problems, the political turmoil and the economic mayhem in the country. So it's things, freedom of action is curtailed. That's understood. But the fact of the matter is that Pakistan has to be defended, and it can be defended, and we will defend it, inshallah.
Now, when you talk of the different strategies that could be, put into place, do you look forward, or are you looking at a kind of operation like Pakistan has had in the past, like Operation Surveyors, for example?
Yes, it's possible, but as I said earlier on some other channel and some places, Zarb-e-Azab or other operations previously that were conducted were also based on the fact that at that point of time, the terrorists or militants were having some bases in Pakistan. They were holding some space, some real estate or some space within Pakistan openly in defiance of the state. That is not the case. Today, if they are in Pakistan, they are in hiding. Of course, they have to be flushed out, and our security forces and intelligence agencies have done a very good job. More recently in Balochistan and KPK also you've seen, and they will continue doing. Soldiers are giving a lot of sacrifice for that, and police also, and security forces. But basically, it's happening from across. So, across the border. That's why I keep repeating, when things happen from across the border, it becomes geopolitical. So you can't fight a battle on one side of the border and win. You have to fight on both sides. Fighting doesn't mean only attacking with military weapons. There are numerous ways and actions and power that the state has. And
when you talk of numerous actions and ways in which you can combat such terrorist elements and organizations, which part is more important, the kinetic or the non-kinetic?
Well, actually, it's not a single either do this or do that. It's the fusion of them or the synergy of them. That is what creates effect. The intelligence operations have to get hold of their leaders, like recently one was caught in Balochistan or in KPK, and then on the borders or other security areas, you have to ensure that any attack is repelled. And then you have friendly forces across the border also, and I don't dwell more on that, but there are people across who are friendly to Pakistan or sympathetic to Pakistan, or they can be created. If people from across can come here and do things, why can't you cultivate people if they're not already there to do things for you? So many things can be done.
All right, Brigadier Saab, let's come a little bit towards Afghanistan and towards the Afghan government. We understand there is an economic crisis in Afghanistan as well, because of the very fact that they have not adhered to the conditionalities that had been put forward by the West, and they are still not adhering to it. What options does that leave the Afghan government with vis-a-vis terrorist organizations such as the TTP, such as the ISI, Khorasan, and others that are present in Afghanistan and that are thriving in Afghanistan? Do you feel it has the resources to curtail their activities? Do you feel it will continue to let them work in whichever capacity they are working, internally or maybe externally? What are the options that you find or you think the Afghan government has in front of them?
I think we should not, in my opinion, we should not think in terms of the options that Kabul regime, Afghan government has. We should think in terms of options that Pakistan has. Because at the end of the day, we are doing four things. For example, they refuse to cooperate, or they are unable to do it. It doesn't mean we are going to sit back and terrorism is going to engulf all of Pakistan. So we have to basically come down to what can we do. And there's a lot, as I said earlier, I talked about flexible alliances. Pakistan and United States and the Western world have to do many joint operations. And say operation is not just a military operation, it's the bigger, I'm talking about the bigger picture. So lots of things can be done together. Similarly with China. China has also stakes in Afghanistan, by the way. Even Russia has got stakes, because Russians don't want terrorism to come into Central Asia. The Central Asian states have, and we have geoeconomic interest. Gwadar is coming up. It's based on my book, Gwadar on the Global Chessboard. Gwadar is coming up, and many of the routes to Central Asia are going to pass through Afghanistan. So the Central Asians have interest. I talked to the ambassador of Central Asian states, and they also want peace in Afghanistan, and similarly other people. So what I'm trying to say is that it can be done at the geopolitical level, the diplomatic level also. And because after all, the Kabul regime has to function, it can't remain unfunctioning like it has been. And it is their job to make sure that nobody attacks Pakistan. It is why things are happening in Pakistan is because you're relying. Why are they not happening? You see what happens when somebody attacks Turkey.
I totally agree with you, and I hope that the Afghan government understands the whole geopolitical or geostrategic perspective of the region, and looks forward to ways and means to collaborate with Pakistan and other countries in order to curtail the activities of TTP, of ISIS-K, because as we see, there is a very strong nexus between the ISIS-K and TTP as we speak. Time to rail them out and rail them out once and forever. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns rising Islamophobia in the West, in the United States of America. We've seen an Imam, Sayyid al-Naqib, who at the beginning of Fajr prayers were at the Omar Mosque in South Peterson, was attacked by an assailant who more or less used to come there for Fajr prayers as well. To talk about different elements of Islamophobia, about such incidents, about other incidents that have happened in the past as well, we've been joined by Imran Sandhu. He's a religious scholar. Imran, thank you very much to have joined us. Imran, when you look at the incident that has happened in Peterson, when you look at the incident in which the name of one of the imams was defaced, the name Allah in his name was defaced, and we see what is happening in Denmark by the burning of our holy book, that is the Holy Quran. Why is this happening? Why is this happening only to a certain religion, that is Islam?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think the only reason that I can think of is in literal terms, it's illiteracy or jahiliyyah. This used to happen when Islam came to Makkah, and the Meccans also did the same things, although it was 1400 years ago. And with this, even this time when the society has learned so much, the same acts of abuse and blasphemy are happening is because of the spiritual illiteracy of some of the people of the Western nation.
Imran, also when the name of schools that have the name Allah, I'd like to give the example of Dr. Hani Awadullah Public School in Patterson, was defaced as well, and that is a deliberate attempt also because the name Allah is in the name of that school. Is this, in your point of view, deliberate? Is this because of a misunderstanding of religions, or does this have some other reasoning behind it?
No, it is not only the misunderstanding or not understanding Islam. It is how the new democratic, so-called democratic Western societies are using the right of freedom expression in a wrong way. Freedom of expression does not actually mean that whatever you want to do, you can do, even if it hurts another society. It is discrimination, I would say. It is discrimination against Muslims, even though they talk about there should be no discrimination, but they don't act. So even the modern law of the modern states prohibit discrimination or marginalization of on the basis of language or religion, and because of the lack of inculcation of the value systems of even the Western societies, I think this could be one of the major reasons. It's not Islam or hatred against Islam, it's hatred against another faction of the society.
Is this hatred deep-rooted?
Yeah, this hatred is deep-rooted in a way that they don't want to coexist between colors, creeds, religion, or other human beings. I would say this is how their societies are built now. They must revalue or reassess their education system and their core value system. The core values do not seem to be in practice of even what they profess. They profess that they practice.
All right, Imran. Also, I'd like to understand in 2022, as per official statuses and official records, highest number of complaints of anti-Muslim prejudices happened in Peterson, and that comes to 152. Do you feel the U.S. government has taken enough measures in order to curb such activities, or do you feel governments in the West are more or less turning a certain blind eye towards incidents against Islam, against Muslims?
I think the lip service is there of the Western governments and their representative. We see lots of lip service that there should be no discrimination, but deep-rooted, you can see when they discuss Islam or Muslims behind closed doors, I think the discussion is not as they profess on the media. I think they are much biased in their closed room meetings against Muslims and Islam. The reason is what they did in Iraq, what together they did in Syria, what they did in Afghanistan, all these countries, what they are doing, even they are supporting against Kashmiris, they are supporting India against Kashmiris, Israel and America together, they are supporting India against Kashmiris. So their policy, as far as the lip service is concerned, I think that is a different. There's a hypocrisy. I think that's going on. That on the face of it, they say that they respect religion, they respect color, they respect creed. But if that is so, why they are waging wars in Muslim lands? Why are they not supporting in African lands? Africa is going down in poverty. Muslim lands were ablaze with fire all around the world. So I don't think so. Western governments are doing anything. They are only doing lip service, but behind the scenes they are working against the Muslim communities.
We see in Canada that there are people that have been put in charge of working against Islamophobia, of putting things right as far as these crimes, these hatred, incidents of hatred against or prejudice against the Muslim community and Islam are concerned. But is that enough? Don't you feel other countries need to follow suit, need to follow what Canada is doing? And do you feel we are looking at a clash of civilizations?
If you want to benchmark somebody in this modern era, we can definitely benchmark Dubai. You see all kind of people from all races, colors, creeds coming to Dubai, living in harmony. But when you talk about the Western nations, they still need to learn a lot more. I appreciate what they have done in technology. I appreciate what they have done in various fields. But as far as humanities is concerned, they still need to learn human values and bring them as close to as Muslims were. You see, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on his in his last sermon in the Hajj, he said that no black or no white has preference over each other. So we learned it 1400 years ago. You still go into Muslim lands, you see black and white and brown people praying together, working together without any racism. But this racism issue has taken over Europe as well as America and most of the Western nations. They discriminate by at the level of giving visas as well. You've seen their leaders talking about banning Muslims in America. So I think they need to learn, they need to revisit their value systems.
All right. On the 15th of March this year, that is the International Day to Combat Islamophobia, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, and I quote, "Discrimination diminishes us all. And we need to stand against it." Do you feel that the contemporary world, the Western world, and even our region and other countries in the southern part of the world need to work jointly against it?
Yeah, they need to come together jointly as human beings. They should create an environment where if anybody wants to preach the religion, anybody wants to peacefully. What I mean to say is, if anybody wants to practice the religion, preach the religion, it should be allowed all around the world. There should be rules, rules and laws and regulations working around it by the parliament, and this is how we human beings can come together and become a one peaceful global society.
Why is it that when there is an incident against Islam or against Muslims, that it is not given as much importance as, say, if an incident occurs against the Jewish religion or a Jewish community or a Jewish place of worship?
There are several historical reasons, I guess, but but if anybody anybody would read history from a point of view of from national point of view, or from other point of views, history will never tell the true story. If they want to understand religion, they should go to the original text and review the religion and make laws according to that. So, I think the reason that the discrimination is there because they envy Muslims and Muslim laws and Muslim nations. Muslim nations have always lived peacefully together. You see, when Muslims were in control of Jerusalem and Palestine and Baitul Muqaddas, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, they were living like neighbors. There was no need. They were living peacefully. But as the Zionists have taken over this nation by way of force, by way of weapon, you see what happened in the Aqsa Mosque a few days ago. They went with boots and guns inside of the masjid. This kind of an act never happened in the Muslim era when it was under Muslim control.
Anti-Semitism is banned in Western countries. Why shouldn't Islamophobia be?
Anti-Semitism, we Muslims are never anti-Semitic. We are not against Jews. We are not against Christians. We are not against Hindus. We are against, what we are against is tyranny. This tyrannical way of controlling people. I think the way the current democracy is systematic. It systematically enslaves people. It drives them away from God the Almighty. The way they have destructed the society. You can see how the family system has destructed in the Western societies. People don't get married because of their stringent laws, unnatural laws. So I think the value system needs to be revisited in the West, and they must learn how to conserve a family system. Since they are individualistic societies, so they are very mean at a social level as well. We Muslims, we still behave in a family manner. And
we respect other religions, and this is what other religions and other countries need to do as well. Respect Islam as a religion and take out laws that call out against all such activities that go against Islam or against the Muslims.
Yeah, Quran also says that you have to be respectful of other religious beliefs. They say Islam says la ikraha fid din. There is no compulsion in religion. So anybody can enjoy any faith, but Islam also gives invitation or dawah to adopt Islam as a system of peace. So Islam does not believe in going into a space and implementing a system where what Islam thinks is the best. Islam has always been against tyranny. Yes, Islam has gone war with tyrannical people who have done tyranny on their own people, who are fascist. Islam talks against fascism, but Islam is very democratic in nature, very democratic. Quran says, وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَ بَيْنَهُمْ, that Islam, the consultation, high-level consultation and low-level consultation and broad-based consultation is the spirit of Islam. So they try to learn democracy from Islam, but they are not able to implement it in letter and spirit. There's still lots of discriminatory laws in the West.
Imran, a diplomatic row occurred between Turkey and Sweden because of the burning of the Holy Quran by a Danish politician. Why go to such lengths to allow politicians or even nationals of any country to take undue advantage and go to extreme lengths to not only incite hatred against Muslims but also burn holy books?
Well, I will again say the way they have defined freedom, eh, that needs to be revisited by them. They think that freedom is just talking against religious beliefs or religions. The freedom should be talking against wrong political ideologies. This is the true sense of freedom. Where God comes in, where the concept or ideology of God comes in, they should be I would say it should be an inclusive dialogue could be promoted. But as far as human laws are concerned, they should be subject to criticism and freedom of speech. So in the West, it's just the other way around. They are very they don't let against the law what humans have made. They don't allow freedom of speech against it. They don't allow freedom of speech against a human decision. Rather, they always allow freedom of speech against God and prophets and religion. So this is the basic loophole in their value system, I believe. And that has made the society go away from the religion. And you see more and more of their society members are moving away from religion and moving away from the universal value systems. And the implication you can see is they don't get married. They don't get married anymore. The children don't know who their fathers are. The family system has also broken down. The society,
the social system
fabric
has also broken down. The difference is quite visible between the different generations, and herein lies the role of intellectuals, academics, non-governmental organizations, human rights activists, and journalists, people like yourself, to preach what religions like Islam want to say as far as cohesion between different sects, between different religions are concerned. Thank you so very much, Imran. Sandhu Saab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about Islamophobia in the wake of these two recent incidents that have happened, and how it is the responsibility of not only the Western countries but the world at large to endeavor together against any discrimination of religion, whether it be Islam or whether it be any other religion. We need to respect and we need to live in harmony between different sects and religions. Let's come to our last story, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns Chat GPT. We've talked about this artificial intelligence platform in the past as well, when it was announced, and how popular it has been and how people are using it to their advantage, sometimes in a proper manner, sometimes in an improper manner. But this time what has happened is that a judge in Palia in Punjab has used Chat GPT in order to ascertain whether culprit in one incident needed to be put behind bars or could be given bail. Now, ChatGPT gave its response in that regard, and that was, of course, adhered to in the decision that was taken by the judge. Will that continue happening in the future as well? Only time will tell. But of course, it is being said that this was a test case. Will there be such more test cases? To which limit will be as individuals, as parts of different organizations continue using artificial intelligence platforms such as ChatGPT? Of course, the possibilities are endless, but we also need to be using such platforms with a lot of caution. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.